Hi everyone. If you're watching this video, I'm sure you're a fan of the Netflix series Arcane. I know I was completely taken by surprise. I also happen to be the owner of a 3D printer and wondered what props from the show I might be able to create in real life. Eventually, I honed in on Jinx's Chompers, although I did need to take some artistic liberties in order to get the electrical and mechanical components to actually work and fit together. So, I'm going to show you how I went about putting together a working, moving, illuminated chomper. First, I had to figure out what the general size was going to be. Looking at this clip, I estimated maybe 10 centimeters in diameter and possibly 15 centimeters in height. This is of course just a preliminary estimate to give me a starting point on the main body. We can shrink or expand as needed the further we get along in the design process. From here we start adding the additional components that are needed, such as the jaws and lower body. Now comes the fun part, or should I say tricky part. How do we get the jaws to move? Initially, I thought about using a clock spring and designing it similar to a wind-up toy. However, in order to prevent the spring from unleashing all of its energy at once, we need a way to slow it down and regulate the speed, which apparently is quite difficult. We're essentially building a clock from scratch with 3D printed parts, which doesn't quite provide the most consistent results. I ran through some preliminary prototypes and eventually abandoned the idea for now. This brings us to another part of my engineering background: servo motors and microcontrollers. Basically, all of the complicated timing mechanisms would exist digitally in the code I write for the microcontroller, in this case an Arduino, and the microcontroller would send instructions to the servo motor about what angle it should be in at any given time. Add a few lines of code for controlling the LED eyes, and I'm ready to start connecting things. The servo motor I used connects directly to the pins on the microcontroller. The LEDs, on the other hand, needed a resistor added to avoid pushing too much current and possibly causing damage. Now that I know what motor and microcontrollers I'm going to use, it was a matter of making sure there's enough room in the body to fit everything and a place to mount them. I ended up making 3D models of the motor and microcontroller to test the fit before sending the parts off to the printer. With this setup, we're only able to fit a single servo motor, so we'll be using a gear system to synchronize the movements of the lower and upper jaw. Time to start painting. Looks like the motor is struggling a bit, possibly due to insufficient power. I'm going to add another battery in parallel and see what happens. Much better. I guess this is a bit of a power hog. And here's the final product. Definitely not perfect, but I'm glad I was able to get it this far. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you have suggestions for other objects that I should try bringing to life, please comment down below.